Hello, I'm so happy to see you. If you're here, I'm happy to see you if you're not here too. If you're on the replay crew, be here now, wherever you are, wherever life takes you. So, I've got my lights kind of different today, and I don't know. It's kind of dark right here, huh? I don't know if I can fix that without getting too involved. And we don't want to get too involved, do we? Too involved is not good. What is too involved? Anyway, I'm doing my sound check, doing my everything check. I've got all my little tricks and tape and stuff to keep things from flying. And let me just get going with all of my regular routine stuff. Like, please hit your like button if you'd be so kind. Oh, look, it's showing up much better with this lighting, isn't it? Make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, if you're not, please consider doing so. It helps a girl out a great deal. And share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring so that you know when I come on live or when I drop a video. I don't know if it notifies you when there's a post. I think it does. I don't get a lot of traffic on my community posts, but I think my community posts are really good. So I keep doing them anyway. And also sometimes I think you don't really know what the traffic is because I don't think it, where I look anyway, the information doesn't tell me how many people have seen it. It just tells me how many people have liked it. And then of course, any comments. So, yeah, I think a lot of us see a lot of things that we don't remember to hit the like button and we don't necessarily comment on. But I came on today to talk with you about some specific things. I try really hard to be interesting, entertaining, educational, mostly educational. So sometimes it's boring. I know. I try so hard to not be boring, but sometimes I want to be boring, not on YouTube, but in my life. Sometimes I'm like, it's my goal to be bored because there's too much going on all the time. Anyway, everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And yes, I am shadow banned. No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Any other questions? Please put them in the chat. I do have my cursor back so I can highlight the, I'm going to put a goal too. Sometimes it makes me put a goal and other times it doesn't, but it asked me if I wanted one. So I'm like, sure. I'm just going to put my goal as one super chat. I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes. And the way that I will celebrate will be Q&A, Q and A. And let's see. Start goal. There we go. So yeah, anybody who wants to donate, I do have apps in my description of my channel and the descriptions of all the videos except for this live. I put it in usually later. I think I have like Buy Me a Coffee and CASHAPP and oh, what's the other one? I'd have to look. Anyway, I know what it is. How come my brain's not working? So sometimes I go brain dead when I'm live. I guess I don't know if they call that stage fright or if that's just the way it is when you're on, which is why I have my notes. I always am like shooting from the hip and just kind of speaking from the heart and being spontaneous. But I do like to keep my notes so that I remember to talk about specific things. So like today, the big thing, there's a few big things I want to talk about. I try to talk about the things that other people aren't talking about. Of course, a lot of times I do talk about things other people are talking about because it's very, very relevant to me. And I want to be sure to explore that. Right now, there's two things that I think that I'm looking at that I don't think anybody else has seen. This one thing about Jessica Aber. Does anybody remember who Jessica Aber is? She was like 42 years old, roughly. She's an attorney. in the she was an attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. She passed away in her sleep the same night that the big E, was balancing his silverware asterisks on his finger at the dinner. Remember the dinner at Bedminster Hall or Bedminster Ballroom or whatever it is? That Bedminster Golf Course, incidentally, is where Ivana is 6 feet under. So that was really creepy to me, that it seemed very contrived that Elon was trying to do something that would go viral. I don't know if that's accurate or if I'm projecting that onto his scene. Maybe he was just high as a kite and didn't want to talk to people, so he was balancing silverware on his finger for an hour. I don't know. He's 5. No, he's got the mentality of a child, that's for sure, and not in a good way. But back in the DC area, Jessica Aber, a very accomplished attorney, and I'll put a link to the Wikipedia for her in the description, who had distinctively fought against all of the things that Trumpster Fire is all about, like cryptocurrency, Israel, Russian gangs. Need I go on? Kind of sketches out an accurate picture. Anyway, when Jessica Aber passed away, I thought, oh, how convenient. Sure, maybe she was sick and died in her sleep, but she looked so healthy. And yeah, her family did say that she had health issues, but were they told that they had to say that? Or, what happened to her could happen to other people that they might know as well. Because that's how those things go. You don't even have to say it out loud. It's just implied. Anyway, this new attorney, Lindsay Halligan, I think I'm saying her name right, the one that is a beauty queen, she is, I believe, in the exact same position that Jessica Aber was in. I believe. I did some research. I know that she's an attorney, a top federal attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, which is the exact same. I don't know how many positions there are. I could ask my Google if it's just one or if it's more than one. Let's see. Let's see if Google can give me a quick answer. How many top federal attorneys are there for the Eastern District of Virginia? Thinking. There are 2 individuals who serve as the top federal attorneys, the U.S. attorney and the first attorney assistant. Okay, interesting. So the U.S. attorney, and it says on here that she's interim, Lindsay Halligan. She has a 120-day appointment unless confirmed by the Senate. And then the first assistant right now is Maggie Cleary. And yeah, I had seen something about Maggie Cleary, and so I was confused. I thought, oh, so there's more than one. So, and then there was that guy, Siebert, who just resigned or was fired. He says that he resigned. Trump said, no, I fired him. I love, one of my favorite jokes is quit, got fired. What difference does it make? It really doesn't make a difference. The only difference is, were you invited to the going away party or not? I think there's a lot to be said with that for work situations and for breakups as well. It doesn't really matter who initiated it. It's usually a mutual thing. And at the same time, I think most people want to try to preserve their relationships, if at all possible, but when you can't, you can't, or if it's just not viable, it's not viable. Anyway, so we have that. We have the fact that Lindsay Halligan replaced this person who passed away. I want to say that was was it April when Jessica Aber passed away? Jessica Aber. It was March 22nd, and that was in Alexandria, Virginia. The overview is she was an American attorney who served as a United States attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia from 2021 to 2025. She was known for prosecuting high-profile cases involving organized crime and national security. So, it's got a lot more information about her, but I will, like I said, I'll put that in the description. So that's one thing about Lindsay Halligan. The other thing about Lindsay Halligan, I think that's really prominent, that is becoming known on the interwebs, is that she competed for Miss Colorado, the pageants that Trumpster Fire owns. She was the third runner-up in 2010 for Miss Colorado. Incidentally, Erica France at the time, might not be saying her last name correctly, but her last name currently is much easier to say, Kirk. Erica Kirk was fourth for that same 2010 Colorado pageant. So interesting that they were on a stage together and competing for who is the most beautiful, who is the finest specimen of females. The information about Erica Kirk having won Miss Arizona title in 2012, again, in the pageant that Trumpster Fire owned. He owned it, I don't know, for like a decade or two, I think late 90s to 2016 was when he sold it, I think. Let's see. When did Trump own Miss Universe? Can't talk. But what's really interesting too is that Miss America pageant that started like in 1920 or something like that, 1921, they didn't have a swimsuit competition in Miss America. So in 1950 something, some people that wanted to see the hot chicks in their bikinis started their own pageant. So that's the Miss USA and the Miss Universe, and that's the one that the Trumpster Fire owned, I think, from 96 until 2016. So 20 years, is that right? Let me see. Yes, it was from 2016. How long did he own it? So that would be about 20 years. And it's funny because here it says that he sold it in September of 2015. Okay, because that would be the year, 14 months before the election. So 96 to 2015. So almost 20 years. Anyway, it also has the Miss Teen USA. So the Miss Teen title that Erica Kirk held in, I guess she still holds it for that year, for 2007, Miss Arizona, that doesn't get talked about at all. Not at all. So 2007, I think she was 19 years old. It was the same year she graduated high school, and she was crowned Miss Arizona Teen. So she very quite possibly, more than likely, I'd say, since she was the winner of her state, would have known Trump since at least 2007, in my opinion. However, her parents, at least her mother, worked with Homeland Security. Her father worked on the Iron Dome. And so they both had ties to the country that starts with an I, that's so controversial right now that little E may or may not have been an agent for and of. So I learned something just last night that I did not know. Did you know that the best agent is the one who does not know that he's an agent? Makes sense, right? So what I was reading was alleging that Dear Donnie didn't know that he was an agent. Let me see if I can find that real quick and share it with you, because it was fascinating. Something that I had really never thought about. I might not be able to pull it up too quick, but I might. Let's see. No, it's in my email, so it'll be harder for me to pull it up. And I'm just laughing because I'm looking at this thing about the scandal involving the escalator, and man, there's been some really good comic material from that, has there not been? So some of the things I want to talk about are how Erica Kirk, who I think suspicion around her is growing. And again, if I'm wrong, I will profusely apologize, because that would just be terrible to be criticizing someone right after their loved one has been red-rummed. But I've known at least one person who was red-rummed, and it takes a really long time for people to come to terms with that, even more so than losing a person to self-injury, in my experience and in my opinion. It's really hard to wrap your mind around one person having the ability and the motivation to take the life of another person. It's really, really hard existentially to come to terms with that, especially if it's your loved one, especially if it's your family member. And in my mental health experience and professional knowledge, there is nothing more stressful than having your spouse die. That is the most stressful event a person can go through. So again, that is even if it's to natural causes or old age or something like that, but to violence and to being targeted and being sacrificed, those radical right wingers keep wanting to say that he's a martyr. I'm like, no, he was a sacrificial lamb. I believe that the whole thing is orchestrated. So there's a ton of conspiracy theories that are just exploding in the last 24 to 48 hours over Charlie Kirk's assassination, even more than were already out there. So a couple of channels, and I say take everything with a grain of salt. Please take what I say with a grain of salt. Make your own judgment of what you think and feel like is the truth for you, because you never know. We can all be duped so easily. So especially with YouTube, especially with some of the channels that I see on YouTube that I just won't watch because I think they're propaganda. I think they're sellouts. I think they're just doing the clickbait thing. And when I find a channel like, I don't know, a channel that started because they just wanted to teach people like how to cook, let's say, and then they're talking while they're teaching people how to cook, or they're just interacting while they're videotaping themselves cooking, and then they realize that they're really into true crime or something like that. So like the Bear Pantry, there's a channel that I really like, and her channel is just, it's about her. It's about anything. It might be about cooking. That's where it started. And it might be about politics, and it might be about just anything in her life. So I recommend her channel. She's very good, very real. When I find a channel like that, I usually stick with it. However, there are some that I still am suspicious of. And there's a couple that I don't know if I want to name them. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, so I'll go ahead and name them. Brush Junkie and Hawaii Real Estate. I came across both of those channels with the Lahaina fires. And Hawaii Real Estate, the guy, I think his name is Eric, had his channel to sell real estate. And he was doing some of the best coverage of the Lahaina fires from jump. Brush Junkie was, I think, born and raised in Hawaii, and then she's in LA, and she had her YouTube channel because she likes makeup brushes. And then when all that stuff with the Lahaina fires was going on, she started covering that because she knew a lot about it. So both of those channels exploded from being, like makeup brushes and real estate to being all this coverage of basically true crime and conspiracy, because that's what the Lahaina fires sort of dovetailed right into. And I really liked both of those channels, despite the fact that they were both heavy duty Trumpster fire supporters. I don't know if they still are, but in the last 24 to 48 hours, both of those channels have been doing work about not only conspiracies around Charlie Kirk's unaliving, but that the whole thing is a psyops and that he's not even deceased. Anything's possible. Perhaps they're correct. I don't know. But I'm saying all this because I want to say I'm taking it with a grain of salt. I'm certainly not buying into that. The first part about it being a psyop, I can easily buy into. And people always say that folks are still alive when they're deceased, like Jim Morrison and John Lennon and Kurt Cobain. I mean, they're all just hiding out because they got sick of being famous, right? Sure, anything's possible, but no, I think all three of them are deceased. And I think people just go crazy with the conspiracy theories, and that gets annoying, especially when I'm trying to find truth and I'm trying to keep an open mind, and I'm more than willing to entertain many conspiracy theories because usually the truth is stranger than fiction. So the information that those two channels have, and I'll go ahead and I'll put links in the description to their most recent videos. And Tracy's was first, the Brush Junkie. And so Eric from Hawaii Real Estate is referring to hers. And then there was this other guy who I think I wrote down the name of his channel, but I hadn't been familiar with him. And I think he kind of blew up overnight. Not New Breed Global Truth, not that one, but that's another good one that I just discovered. Dee Got a Podcast is new to me, and I'm really into that channel right now. But what was the one that everybody was talking about a couple of days ago? Let me see. I think I can find it super fast on my phone. I am addicted to this thing, obviously. I can't think without it. Can't function without it. Especially when I'm on my lives, I really need to be able to look things up to confirm or to say it if I can't remember off the top of my head. So Secular Talk, Kyle Kulinski, he's one that's been blowing my mind. Okay, is this it? I'm going to turn off my sound. This might be it. So Jesse on Fire is one that covered this other channel, the one that everybody's talking about. And let's see, you guys have probably already seen it. Is this guy? What is the name of his channel? It doesn't say here, does it? Range Day Bro, I think is the name of his channel. Let me see. Does that ring a bell to you guys? Range day, bro. So he came out with a video a few days ago that's blown up. So he's one of these people that made his channel because he's a firearm enthusiast, and that was what his channel's about, thus the name Range Day Bro. And then he's been covering the Charlie Kirk case, and let's see, his big video that blew up, I think it got, like, this one got 6.3 million views from 4 days ago. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's called Kirk Assassination, New Video Evidence Changes Everything. It's just an 8-minute video. But, you know, most of his videos get like a few thousand views, you know, anywhere from like 2 to 150,000 maybe. But then 4 days ago, well, it says 4 days ago on here. That's probably 5 days ago in real life. YouTube does that. They try to make things seem fresher than they are. 6.3 million views. So everybody's been watching this video and talking about this video. And I think that's great because it's a lot of interesting ideas, but I'm not saying that I buy any of these ideas. Patricia Moss, hello, my dear. Thanks for saying hi. How are you today? Have you been following all the Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories? So now they're trying to say that the whole thing might be staged, that he's fine, that he was part of it. I'm not there. I'll tell you where I am. I do think that there's a lot of conspiring going on with it. Yes. Good and yes. I'm curious what your opinion is, if you have one at this point in time. I believe that his wife was in on it. I think it was Billied yesterday who said this, and she might have said it before. Somebody else had said it in my chat recently, that they called Erica his handler. And I know what a handler is, so I thought, okay, I can entertain that idea. And yesterday I thought, yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. And today I'm thinking that's spot on accurate. She was probably sent to manage him from jump. And not only did the Trumpster fire know her parents since before she was born, most likely, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Same with Charlie Kirk's mother and father. His father apparently he was an architect, and he worked on the Trump Tower in the 80s, maybe. And then he worked on some casinos in Atlantic City. Also, I don't know if that was like the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City or not. But pretty wild and not surprising. So let me just jump straight to the chase. I'm so curious what your opinion is, if you want to share, Patricia. And you're in Oregon, right? Am I remembering the right information with the right handle? The celebration of life on Sunday, the 9-hour pyrotechnic ritual presentation. There's a lot of things you could call it. Celebration of life. I don't know about that. But there are many elements about it that reminded me of Kylie Rodney, actually. And I started watching that movie Snake Eyes. Have you guys heard people talking about the movie Snake Eyes? Oh man, it's crazy. Nicolas Cage starred in it, I think in 1998, and it's all about somebody getting assassinated in public, whose name is Charlie Kirkland, not kidding you. And I think it happened on a September 10th, not kidding you. And there's a lot, same spot on the neck. There's a lot more of the exact same things. There's no way it's a coincidence. There's no way. First of all, I just said it yesterday. I do not believe in coincidence. I do believe in synchronicity. I do not believe in coincidence. and especially in homicide. There's absolutely no such thing as coincidence when you're investigating a homicide. Nothing is a coincidence in homicide, ever. I mean, sure, there's exceptions to every rule, but that's the mindset that you have to have if you're going to try to solve these things. And aren't we all just Columbo wannabes? I mean, I do think that we have a lot of power as like a group think and as the hive mind. And I do think that that's very threatening to folks who have gotten away with pulling the wool over the public's eyes for decades. If they did it, why did they choose a MAG family? Wouldn't they go from someone that wasn't a MAG family, MAGA? Now, do you mean Charlie being from a MAGA family, or do you mean Tyler, the alleged shooter, being from a MAGA family? And yes, the coast of Oregon. Cool. So I'll go ahead and answer either way as you type in your answer there, Patricia. If they did it, why did they choose a MAGA family? So I think that, let's say that you're talking about Charlie being from a MAGA family. They needed a distraction from the Epstein files first and foremost. Like that is like number one all the time right now, every day. Distract. Let's make a big deal of the escalator. Let's make a big deal of the teleprompter. Let's make a big deal of anything and everything that we can. Let's make a big deal of an ICE detention center where people are being shot at. Let's make a big deal about ICE agents beating people up. Let's make a big deal about everything we can. Let's distract from the pesky, stupid Epstein files that nobody will forget about. And Trumpster Fire can't figure out why nobody can forget about it, because he can. He doesn't care about the people that were injured or the fatalities around that. Doesn't matter to him at all. That's abundantly clear. I'll try to be clearer from now on. Yes. So that's all right. It's good to answer it from both sides too. So I think that they selected him to turn him into a martyr, or to pretend that he was a martyr, because then they were trying to pretend that the evil left Democrats did it to the angelic right Republican. But I think he's more of a sacrifice, but I also think that he's a liability because of that whole 150 million. I double checked. It's 150 million, not 100 million, that he allegedly turned down at that lunch business meeting in the Hamptons a few weeks ago with a couple of spokespeople who were there representing Bibi from the I Nation, the war criminal, Donnie's boss, in my opinion. So not only was he turning that down and not willing to just say everything that Bibi wants him to say, he was really questioning things around that. And also, he's been all about releasing the Epstein files. We know that. And so Donnie called him a few weeks ago and said, shut up about that already. We got this. And he said, all right. And then he reported that on his channel even the very next day, as he did his 180. He explained why he was doing his 180 and was just like, that's just me. So just telling it like it is. I can respect him for that. But then I respect him even more for perhaps changing his mind again when the birthday book got uploaded to the internet and he saw that disgusting, sickening birthday book for little E. So that was Jeffrey's 50th birthday in 2003. And Erica was born in 1988. So she would have been 15 years old if you see where I'm going with this. She would have been 15 years old at that point in time. She won Miss Teen 4 years later in 2007. In my opinion, she more than likely knew the Trumpster fire and the little E. She says that she was just a soup kitchen volunteer with her mother. And then she received a letter in the mail one day that said, you should model, you should be in a pageant, come to our pageant. And she said, okay. And then the rest is history. So maybe there was a letter written from a Trump organization. I don't know. And then by the time she was 19 was when she won the Miss Teen pageant for Arizona. But around that same time, she already owned her own company doing altruistic work in Romania that may or may not have involved transporting the Romanian children. And she also was a casting and modeling director for a company in New York City that may or may not have been affiliated with the man who is our president now. So she had these two big companies. Being from Arizona, she's a casting, modeling director. You know, Casting Couch comes to mind immediately. Billy, look at you. Let me get caught up with you guys. I'm so excited to see you. I'm sorry I missed your earlier comment there. You missed what I said before. I'll try to be clear. Oh, did I miss a comment? I do have it on live chat. I was wondering if Trump and friends set the assassination, why they chose a MAGA man. So, right. Did they choose a MAGA man to assassinate? Or are you asking why they chose a MAGA man to pin it on? Because apparently that Tyler kid is not a left winger. Apparently he's a right winger. At least his whole family is. But I think you're probably talking about Charlie Kirk. Mom was paid well for her daughter. Billy, I believe you. And I think that you're ahead of me on the information that I have seen since my live yesterday. And I've watched most of that movie, Snake Eyes. Have you watched that movie, Snake Eyes? Everybody's watching it, and I highly recommend it. 1998 is when it was made. It's pretty wild. Wouldn't they choose someone not associated with MAGA to be the shooter? You would think, but then how would they control that person? I mean, you know, people, I've heard a lot of folks bring up like the MK Ultra type of stuff. And I think that there's probably something to that, almost like the sleeper cells or individuals, but maybe it's like there are sleeper cells that are on the internet and then they're just programmed to go do these things, you know, not knowing what the consequences will be. They just do it out of loyalty and out of being brainwashed. I don't know. Maxwell Light. Thank you, Billy, darling. I mean, Billy. Yeah, the whole Maxwell thing is crazy. Crazy. I really want to read you this thing that somebody emailed me. So maybe I'll pull it up on my computer and read it to you while I'm on live. Hey, it's me, Billy. So yeah, the thing about Maxwell, and you might have meant Maxwell like instead of Maxwell Light, is that you're saying Erica's mother is like Jizz, because I'm thinking that Erica might have been a mini Jizz as well, with her Romania stuff and with her Casting Couch stuff in New York. She might have been one of these younger women that was almost like a Jizz assistant. There's at least 5 of them. And those are the people that they were afraid, they didn't want to prosecute when Lil E got his sweetheart deal, and why they said, you know, anybody affiliated with his evil doings will be not prosecuted as part of his sweetheart deal. But that was just like for the state of Florida. That didn't include New York, which is why I think it doesn't apply to Maxwell. So to pin it on. Yeah, okay, to pin it on a MAGA man. Gotcha, Patricia Moss. So yeah, I think that they sometimes underestimate the power of themselves, overestimate the power of themselves, and underestimate the intelligence of the public. And they think, well, if we say that he's into this trans furry stuff, or that his roommate is, we'll be able to sell it like he's a left-winger. And then people do their research, or they make mistakes, or, you know, I think that they fully intended to pin it on a pretend left-winger, and it didn't work out. And so then they tried to pretend that his roommate's a left-winger. Like, who knows if he even has a roommate? You know, seriously. We have the one picture of the roommate. One picture? Really? It's odd. Yes, I have seen Snake Eyes. Brian De Palma, is that the guy, the writer or the director or the producer? So yeah, I was just watching it today, actually. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it's good. Lite, yeah, and of same ilk. All right. So I don't know if I can pull up my email on my cell phone. I don't think I have the app on here. I know that I used to, but I think that it got taken off when I was trying to make more room. Wait, maybe it is here. I kind of doubt it, but I can try. No, I'm going to look at it here on my, and forgive me, the screen is very bright, so I'm going to turn down the brightness of the screen while I'm reading it to you. And here we go. It's very interesting. This is actually from Facebook, I think. And it's something someone posted on Facebook, and it starts out, the greatest heist, and I'll put a link to it in the description. The cultivation of Donald Trump. It took the KGB 12 years to construct Donald Trump as an asset. This is how they did it. Donald Trump slipped off his shoes to board Robert Maxwell's Lady Jizz, the yacht. Everyone had to. Maxwell insisted. He claimed it was about protecting the plush carpeting, but at 6'1" and 300 pounds, Maxwell enjoyed the power advantage of towering over his guests. A giant among the shoeless, literally looking down on everyone, and especially Trumpster Fire, because I think he has lifts in his shoes so that he can try to pass for 6'3", which he's probably not even 5'11" at this point in time. Anyway, the photograph would ricochet through intelligence agencies from Langley to London to Moscow like a tracer round. This was no ordinary cocktail gathering. This was the culmination of one of Maxwell's biggest coups. And I'll go back to the screen to see if you guys are making comments, so you can keep commenting if you want. Between 1970 and 1991, the KGB systematically infiltrated Western financial systems, orchestrating history's largest theft of state assets, $50 billion in Communist Party funds transferred through 7,000 plus accounts and 84 companies. As defector Yuri Bezmenov revealed, 85% of KGB work focused on ideological subversion and economic destabilization. Oof, which is exactly what I think Trumpster Fire has been doing to our country since Inauguration Day. The economic destabilization and the ideological subversion. Rather than traditional espionage, Maxwell was their crucial Western facilitator, simultaneously serving as George Bush Sr.'s CIA back channel while taking 15 to 20% commissions for laundering Soviet assets through his partnership with Simon Maglovich, the FBI's future most wanted Russian crime boss. Well, and I wonder, I'll just keep reading because this is long, but let me check real quick your comments if I'm missing any. I'll get caught up real quick and then jump back and forth. Sorry for the inconvenience. I just think they could have found a non-MAGA to be the assassin. There are plenty of young, depressed men out there to choose from. Well, yeah, but how can they trust them? How well do they know them? And yeah, I think they're, like I said, I think they overestimate their power and their own intelligence. So they think, we got this, and they underestimate other people's power and intelligence. If it was a by Trump and gang, makes no sense they would choose the man they chose. It makes them look bad. Well, they are bad. Yeah. Well, and maybe like the one in Butler, maybe they were planning on him being deceased by now. I don't know. I do not know. But yeah, good comments. Thanks, Patricia. Let's see. But to complete this economic warfare strategy, they needed the perfect American mark, someone who could make Soviet money look like American success, take their cash without questions, and grow prominent enough to normalize corruption. In 1977, they found him, or rather, they began constructing him. By 1989, Trumpster fire, standing shoeless on that yacht, was exactly what they had spent 12 years constructing. The ideal American vessel for Soviet money, transformed from a minor New York developer into someone prominent enough to launder billions without anyone asking questions. The assessment, born to be recruited, former KGB officer Yuri Shvets told me the decision was made by at least 1983 that it's time to establish a direct contact with Donnie Trumpster fire from somebody from Russian New York. I don't know what that word is. Rezidentura, Rezidentura. Rezidentura. Anyway, moving right along. The psychological profile that emerged was devastating. Intelligence services worldwide use a framework called MICE: money, ideology, compromise, ego, to assess potential assets. Trumpster fire scored off the charts on 3 of the 4 and missed one. Ideology actually made him more valuable, not less. And the missing one made him more valuable, not less. Extreme vanity. Trump needed to be seen as successful, brilliant, winning. Recognition was his oxygen. Tell him he was exceptional, and he became remarkably receptive to suggestion. Extremely low IQ, not academically. Operationally, Trump couldn't see 3 moves ahead. He couldn't recognize patterns that intelligence professionals are trained to spot. As Shivels, if I'm saying that name right, put it, the guy is not a complicated cookie. His most important characteristics being low intellect coupled with hyperinflated vanity. This combination makes him a dream for an experienced recruiter. Extreme narcissism. Everything was viewed through the lens of how it affected him. Every deal, every relationship, every interaction was measured by how it reflected on him. Extreme love to flattery. The Moscow trip would prove this. Ambassador Dubinin's daughter, Natalia, recalled, Trumpster fire melted at once. He is an emotional person, somewhat impulsive. He needs recognition, and I think he's gotten so much more impulsive in his old age. just want to add that. He needs recognition, and of course, when he gets it, he likes it. My father's visit worked on him like honey on a bee. And yeah, let's talk more about the whole honeypot crap. And greed, the drive to accumulate, to expand, to build empire after empire. Money was the scorecard, and Trump played to win at any costs. You have it all here, Schvetz concluded. Everything in this guy, everything is out of place, out of proportion. Everything is exaggerated. These weren't just personality traits, they were operational opportunities. And the KGB had spent decades learning how to exploit exactly these characteristics in their targets. In intelligence terms, Trump was a perfect mice candidate, M-I-C-E. 1977, the Czechoslovakia opening, the cultivation began with a woman who appealed to Trump's first vulnerability, his need for prestige. Ivana, and I can't say her last name, Zelkin, I've tried to say it before, Zelnikova, claimed to be an alternative on the Czechoslovakian Olympic ski team. She wasn't, though Don Jr. would later repeat that story about his mother. When she and Donnie Trumpster Fire wed in April of 77, her Olympic narrative had been carefully messaged and enhanced for Western consumption. Nothing less than an Olympic athlete, and how fitting that the newlyweds would settle in the Olympic Tower at 641 Fifth Avenue. What Trump didn't know, what his vanity prevented him from seeing, was that Ivana came from Zlin, then called Gottwaldov, after the Stalinist president, where travel to the West required special permissions and often cooperation with intelligence services. She was sending messages back to Prague. Isn't that how you say it? Prague. Through her father, Milos Zelnikek. Let's try that. Zelnikek. Zelnic with a thing over it, EK. To the STB, Czechoslovakia's intelligence service. As Yuri Shvets revealed, everybody who wanted to immigrate to America was approached by the KGB with blackmail. Either you signed a handwritten note pledging to cooperate with the KGB, or you don't go anywhere. The vain American real estate developer who believed he'd won an Olympic beauty was actually playing a role in a carefully orchestrated intelligence operation. One he never suspected. The KGB now had eyes inside his home, his business, his entire world. 79 to 83, the surveillance network. In 1980, Donnie was nearing completion of the Grand Hyatt and was looking for a good deal on 200 televisions for guest rooms. He bought them from Joy Ludd Electronics in the Flatiron District. Joy Ludd's owner, Senyin Kislin, was connected to the KGB. As Craig Unger noted in American Compromat, that simple purchase effectively opened the doors of the KGB to Donnie Trumpster Fire. But Kislin wasn't just intelligence. He was part of Semyon Meglovich's network. Kislin's brother, Benjamin, would later be named in federal indictments as part of gasoline bootlegging schemes with Meglovich Associates. The same network that was watching Trumpster Fire through Joy Ludd would soon be washing Meglovich's billions through Trumpster Fire Tower. I know this is long, so let me go back over to your comments to see if there are any. And let's see. Make sure I don't lose my spot there. Let's see. Oh, there's tons. Maybe not tons. Let's see. Where are we? I think after Patricia's, I would lose at chess all day long. Chess is a rough game, but it's interesting. I learned it when I was 7, so I'm fairly good at it. I think the younger you learn something like that, sort of like a language. And I have my kids, I had them all trained as children too. Not by me, but by a chess expert or a con man who said he was a chess expert. I think the latter. Anyway, Patricia says, I definitely wouldn't put it past them. There were reasons they wanted to get rid of them. Now that Kirk is gone, he can be lifted up to saint status. Plus, he is nice and quiet now. Yeah, and just like Lee Harvey Oswald, I think they often plan to be done with them immediately because they know too much. They're a liability. Good point, Patricia. Billy says, you two taught me a lot yesterday. I didn't know all that very, very interesting stuff about Erica. Put a lot of things into perspective. I'm very proud of myself for being kind of ahead of the game with a lot of this Erica stuff. I think it's just been exploding the last 24 hours. But the whole thing about her winning the teen pageant in 2007 is almost impossible to find. I'm not even sure that I can remember exactly where I found it. I think I only found it in one place, maybe 2, but I had suspected it. So, I still, of course, want to keep an open mind that it might not be true, but I think it is. She won Miss Arizona Teen in 2007. And then the whole thing about her being the 4th runner up, and Lindsay, the attorney, what's her last name? Halligan or something like that. Her being the 3rd runner-up for Colorado in 2010. Halligan. That's mind-boggling. And yeah, I did not find that on my own. I want to say that it was Dee Got a Podcast that opened my eyes to that. And that might have even been the thing about Erica in the teen pageant too. I want to rewatch his video. I think I put it in I definitely put it in the link in the description to yesterday's video. Dee Got a Podcast. And again, he could be a sham too, for all I know. But at this point, I'm impressed with his content. Yeah, I mean, you can't trust anybody these days. I mean, it's always been like that, but especially with the internet, it just heightens that fact so much more. Let's see. Good point, Patricia. Okay, I read the Patricia one about you two taught me. Let me highlight that. I'm glad that you enjoyed that video yesterday because, yeah, I enjoyed it so much with Billy conversing. So thank you. I haven't had a chance to review it yet. It's been harder to find time to review my stuff when I'm trying to scan high and low on the interweb for all the little tidbits of information I can consume. T would lose T. I'm not bad at chess, but little T is an idiot. I love it when Fox News is like, he's playing 5D chess. One time, one of the newscasters on Fox News said, he's playing 3D chess. It's like, aha. Isn't that what everybody's playing? The 3D type. It was hilarious. Hilarious. Erica has too many connections as a child. Well, yeah, her dad working on the Iron Dome and her mother working for the Department of Defense and Homeland Security. And I guess Homeland Security is heavily involved with all of the transporting, which would make more sense why they were out there looking for Kylie on day 1. Just saying. Okay, let me see if I can finish this. Trump never asked why why the Russians kept appearing in his life. What they all knew, why they all knew each other. And yeah, why did they all drop like flies and fall out of windows and such after the election and on the election day of 2016. Curious. His operational blindness made him the perfect target. He thought he was building a business network. The KGB was constructing an operational network around him. 84, the money test. In 84, KGB moved into the money stage their assessment. Into the money stage, I think it should say of their assessment. Excuse me. David Boglin arrived at Trumpster Fire Tower with $6 million cash to buy 5 condos. Trumpster Fire personally attended the closing, no questions asked. 3 years later, Boglin fled the country and the government seized his units, declaring he had purchased them to launder money to shelter and hide assets. But Boglin wasn't just any money launderer. He was a lieutenant of Simon Mangalovich. I think I'm saying that correctly. The brainy don of the Russian mafia, born in Ukraine in 1946 with advanced degrees in economics, fluent in 6 languages. And let me just say, this is like Lev Parnas. This fits his profile too. And he's, I think, come clean, and he has his own YouTube channel called Lev Remembers. And I want to really underscore recommending him as a source for solid information. Megalovich, let's just go with that, fluent in 6 languages, Megalovich controlled a vast empire spanning from Budapest to Brighton Beach. The feds would later call him the most dangerous mobster in the world. More crucially, he would become the power behind the Putin presidency. Nice. Dastardly. By 1988, Megalovich had established Benet International, later at the center of the Bank of New York scandal where $10 billion was laundered. That same year, he incorporated YBM Magnex on the Toronto Stock Exchange, a front company that would defraud investors of $150 million while laundering millions more. Working for YBM Magnex was a young Russian named Felix Sater, that name is very familiar, who would later become Trumpster Fire's business partner. Aha! And crucially, Magalovich was Robert Maxwell's business partner. They jointly owned the Bulgarian umbrella company Toplo Energo. Sorry, I hack up all these words. Let's just leave it. Leave it be. Good enough. Maxwell's Pergnom press was used to launder Magalovich's money. The same Maxwell whose yacht Trumpster Fire would board in 1989. In 1986, Trumpster Fire was claiming $410 million in assets. Russian money was flowing into his tower projects from all directions. The money factor in the MICE framework was firmly established. Donnie would take cash from anyone, never asking where it came from. 1987, the Moscow activation. The path to Moscow began in March 1986 when Soviet Ambassador Yuri Dubinin visited Donnie's tower with his daughter Natalia. By autumn, at a luncheon hosted by Leonard Lauder, Donnie sat next to Dubinin. Natalia later recalled, Donnie melted at once. He is an emotional person, somewhat impulsive. He needs recognition. And of course, when he gets it, he likes it. My father's visit worked on him like honey on a bee. Didn't I already read that part? It didn't take me back, did it? Better not have. By January 1987, the formal invitation arrived from Intourist. No, I don't think I've come across that word yet. It just repeated that paragraph. The Soviet state tourist agency that former GRU officer, GRU, Viktor Savorov confirmed was KGB. They gave permission for people to visit. Donnie departed for Moscow on Independence Day, July 4th, 87, with Ivana, who spoke Russian, and her assistant, Lisa Calandra. The symbolism wasn't subtle. Oh, I also watched the brand new Simpsons, which I highly recommend. I'll try to talk about that before we wrap up today's video. It just reminded me of it because at one point Donnie was greasing some stairs with Crisco. But anyway, sorry, I digress. The symbolism wasn't subtle. They put him in Lenin's suite at the National Hotel, the same corner room where Vladdy Lenin had stayed in 1917 with sweeping views of the Kremlin. Newsweek's Moscow bureau chief Joyce Barnathan interviewed Donnie in Lenin's suite. She recalled Donnie calling Ivana from the shower. She comes out in this white robe with her hair up in a towel, looking kind of ticked off. And again, I want to remember to talk about wearing the color white, because we know Erica was wearing white and Scammy was wearing white at Kylie Rodney's celebration of life. And yeah, that white is a very symbolic color for an outfit, not just for white weddings, but for moving up in the priestess creepiness. We'll try to talk about that more when I'm done here. Looking kind of ticked off, Donnie pointed to peeling paint, saying, I can't understand. This I can't understand, then gesturing to the Kremlin view. But this is fabulous. Perfect Donnie's narcissism wouldn't let him see the theater. During the visit, Donnie toured half a dozen potential sites for a hotel, including several near Red Square, and met with economic and financial advisors in the Politburo. In Leningrad, they visited the Opera House. The photos show Donnie beaming Ivana elegant, both completely unaware they were starring in a KGB production, As former KGB officer Oleg Kalugin confirmed, it was a widespread practice for the KGB to hire young women and deploy them as prostitutes to entrap visiting politicians and businessmen. I wonder if that applies to the current Mrs. T. Former KGB officer Sergei Zirnov stated that Donnie would have been surrounded 24/7 by KGB operatives, including everyone from his cab driver to the maid servicing his hotel room. Donnie's every move would have been recorded and documented. The compromise factor in MICE was being thoroughly documented. As Schvelz confirmed, the entire trip was arranged through the KGB, by the KGB, and on the KGB's money. The invitation was actually initiated by a high-level KGB official, General Ivan Gromov. I'm just going to make that good enough. I know I said it wrong. The KGB likely gave Donnie a suggestion while on his trip and waited to see if it transpired on his return. 7 weeks after returning, Donnie spent $94,801 on full-page newspaper ads calling for America to stop defending its allies, exactly what Soviet strategic interest required. The KGB cabled Moscow, celebrating the ads as a successful active measure executed by their new asset, Shivels stated. It was unprecedented. I am pretty well familiar with KGB active measures starting in the early 70s and 80s. I haven't heard anything like that or anything similar. Former Kazakh KGB officer Alner Musayev would later state, based on my experience of operational work in the KGB, KNB, I can say for sure that Donnie belongs to the category of perfectly recruited people. Donnie thought the ads were his brilliant idea. His narcissism wouldn't let him see that he'd been influenced by 3 weeks of carefully orchestrated flattery and suggestion. By October, sorry, this is so long, but it's almost done. And then I'll get back to your comments. By October, Donnie was in New Hampshire delivering his first political speech. The Executive Intelligence Review noted on July 24th, 1987, the Soviets are reportedly looking a lot more kindly on a possible presidential bid by Donnie Trumpster fire. The network rewarded him handsomely. In 88, Donnie purchased Khashoggi's 282-foot yacht, the Nabila, and that's the same Khashoggi as the one who was dismembered in the Istanbul consulate just, 3 years ago? No, it was longer than that because it was during Donald's presidency. So maybe 2018, maybe 7 years ago, Khashoggi, Jamal Khashoggi. Let me look that up real quick because that's important. No minor detail there. Jamal Khashoggi. It did not take... Khashoggi. It's not wanting to spell his name right, but I just want to know what years he was alive. Where was it? Shogggi. October 2nd, 2018, Istanbul, Turkey. So yeah, it was a Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Good, I'm glad to get that straight so I don't have to correct myself later. Sorry about that little side note there. So 2018, like I said, during Donnie 1.0. So the Nabila was $29 million, was zero money down, 100% financed. Donnie admitted actually it was from the Sultan of Brunei, because he was security for a loan and a whole complicated thing. Yeah, and they're all in on it. The yacht, renamed Donnie's Princess, featured 210 telephones, satellite communications, hidden cameras, a floating operations center for conducting business beyond U.S. jurisdiction. This wasn't a purchase, it was a gift for services rendered. And what a great way to keep tabs on somebody. The network converges. By the late 1980s, Donnie was surrounded by a social circle that constantly reinforced the self-image. Little E had become his friend in 87, the same year as the Moscow trip. They were set up, in my opinion, just like Erica and, her hubby. It's a setup, in my opinion, completely. Let's see. The same year as the Moscow trip, they were, as Stephen Hoffenberg testified, along with Tom Barrack, the three amigos. I was thinking the three little pigs, but I digress. Who were partying it up on a regular basis in New York. Little E knew how to stroke Trumpster Fire's ego, how to make him feel like the king of Manhattan. So just remember that Charlie and Erica's parents both had ties to the country that starts with an I, which all this ties to back then in the 80s even. Because in the 80s was when Charlie's dad was the architect for Trump Towers. That was in the 80s. Let's see, where are we? At Mar-a-Lago parties where, let's just admit it, where a lot of the Epstein factors happened and spa people were stolen and party favors were given, bought and sold, and depreciated people. All right. Where George Horney recalled Donnie and Jeffrey were the only guests at a Calendar Girl competition with 28 young women at Victoria's Secret parties, where Donnie and Jeffrey were photographed together at the Plaza Hotel, which Donnie had acquired with Tom Barrack's help, using the same junk bond structure that would destroy his casinos. What Donnie didn't understand was that they were all connected. Jeffrey had been recruited in 81 by Douglas Lease, an M16 asset running offshore companies for money laundering, investment banking, financial fraud. Adnan Khashoggi had helped in training Jeffrey in arms dealings operation. By 87, when Jeffrey launched J.E. Epstein and Company, his first client was Khashoggi. The same Khashoggi running Iran-Contra smuggling operations with Maxwell, and this is also right around the same time as Oliver North getting busted, moving weapons and money through the same networks that would eventually fund Donnie's operations. Meanwhile, the real business was happening underneath. So Oliver North took the fall so that these guys could be unscathed. I just put two and two together. It only took me, 40 years? Meanwhile, the real business was happening underneath him at Trumpster Fire Tower. By the late 80s, Fed surveillance confirmed Russian mobster, whose name I won't try to say the first name, I'll just go with the Iankov, known as Little Japanese, and Mogilevich, personal representative in America. Mogilevich's personal representative in America, made frequent visits to Donnie's Taj Mahal. Ivankov had been serving a 14-year sentence in a Siberian gulag, when Mogilevich arranged his early release in 91 through bribes to Russian judges. He arrived in New York in March 92, with a mission: establish Mogilevich's money laundering operations in America. The Trumpster Fire Tower became his headquarters. Trumpster Fire's broker, Ace Greenberg and Bear Stearns. See, these guys are responsible for the 1987 economic crisis and also our 2008 economic collapse, in my opinion. Okay. Bear Stearns had arranged for Donnie to build his casino empire with junk bonds at impossible rates. The Trumpster Fire Taj Mahal opened in April of 90 with 675 million in bonds at 14% interest, 94.5 million annually just to service the debt. As Hoffenberg testified, Greenberg swooped in to give Trumpster Fire bonds that Bear Stearns controlled, allowing Donnie to acquire Atlantic City casinos without spending his own capital. I'm going to have to wrap up too. Let me try to finish this. The math never worked, but profitability wasn't the only metric. The casinos served multiple functions, entertainment values, high roller destinations, and as court documents would later reveal, facilities that were repeatedly cited for having inadequate money laundering controls. The violations were systematic, failing to report suspicious transactions, allowing known criminals to gamble millions in cash, not filing currency transaction reports for accounts over $10,000, permitting patrons to exchange millions in gaming chips with each other. I do need to wrap this up, but I think I'm almost done. Let me see. Yeah, I'm almost done. It just goes on forever. Sorry, I did not realize it was quite so long. Let me see. Where did I leave off? In 2015, Taj Mahal would be fined $10 million for willfully violated anti-money laundering regulations, the highest penalty ever leveled against a casino. Trump was told he was a casino genius. The reality was more complex. His casinos served purposes beyond traditional gaming revenue. 89, the yacht verification, which brings us back to Maxwell's yacht in May 89. New York Post society pages captured the scene. Trumpster Fire minus Ivana bragged to anyone who would listen that he has a much bigger yacht and was happy to compare them with Maxwell. Around him, the convergence of compromised power. John Tower, the former senator who'd covered up Iran-Contra and served as Maxwell's conduit to George H.W. Bush's CIA, now rewarded with a cushy job at Maxwell's Macmillan Publishing House. He'd be deceased in a mysterious plane crash within 2 years with his 8-year-old kid. I looked that up, I think, a couple of days ago. His 8-year-old kid died in that plane crash too, but I don't have time for that right now to look at my notes. Tom Boland, Roy Cohen's law partner, representing the bridge between Donnie's deceased mentor and the yacht's owner, Cohen had taught Donnie everything about compromat and leverage, and now his partner stood witness to the student's verification. The intelligence to finance pipeline was presented by John Lehman, former Navy secretary, now with Payne Weber. Thomas Pickering, the UN envoy, provided diplomatic cover. Peter Kalikov, not saying it right, owned the New York Post itself, soon to become Maxwell's takeover target. Mort Janicoy, the literary agent who would package Donnie's books, mingled with the caviar crowd. And also captured in the photos was a young Jiz Max who seemed transfixed by Donnie. She wasn't looking at her father or other powerful men. Her gaze was fixed on Donnie. She would have already understood the role he would play in the network she was being trained to inherit. The American real estate developer who believed his own success story, whose competitive nature drove every interaction, whose appetite for deals overrode caution, the collapse in the mystery. The bill came due in 91, 92, but the collapse was engineered from the start. 3 major properties bankrupt in 18 months. July 91, the Taj Mahal, 675 million debt. March 92, the Trump Castle, prepackaged bankruptcy. November 92, Plaza Hotel, 550 million debt. By any normal measure, Donnie was finished, and yet within 5 years, he was claiming a net worth of $450 million, flush with cash, buying the Miss Universe pageant, and back on the Forbes richest list. The business boon happened just as Jeffwe's Tower Financial collapsed with $450 million vanished. Oh, isn't that a coinky dink? As Yuri Shevs would later testify, the whole Trump organization was turned into a big money laundering machine for Russian intelligence community. The perfect asset never knows they're an asset. That's the part I've been trying to get to this whole time. When I read that, I was like, I did not know that, but that makes sense. The perfect asset never knows they're an asset. They think their success is their genius. Their recovery is their skill. Their friends are real. Like, they don't even know what the word friend means. Trump stood barefoot on Maxwell's yacht in 89, never understanding that he'd been cultivated since 77, surveilled since 79, financially compromised since 84, activated in 87, and was now being verified as reliable. 12 years of patent or patient, either way. Patient cultivation had produced exactly what the KGB needed. An American businessman prominent enough to launder billions without raising suspicions, respectable enough to make Russian money look like legitimate investment, compromised enough to be controlled, and vain enough to never realize he'd been constructed for this purpose. To this day, he likely still believes every deal was his victory, every recovery his brilliance, every relationship genuine, including Ivana and Marla and Melania Bott. The perfect asset never knows they're an asset. That's what makes them perfect. And the person who posted this, I think, is named Lisa Baker. And again, I'll put a link to it in the description later. I gotta fly. I gotta run. So let me see. I said I would look at your things. T is playing Chinese checkers poorly. That's great, Billy. Hello to all. Oh, Vieja. Hello. Yes, now CB is silenced. No more for him to let MAGA's secrets or Epstein files for him to find and let out. CK. Right, Charlie Kirk. So interesting. I'm definitely going to rewind this reading a few times. Oh, I'm so happy to be of service to you, Patricia. Thank you. That's why I read it, because I know that I might not necessarily read it. I read it through a first time, and that's why I was able to read it a second time without stumbling over like twice as many words as I did. But I apologize for all the difficulty with those names. It's putting some puzzle pieces together. Exactly. It's a lot to take in and think about. Thanks, Jazzy. Thanks, you guys. Love to you. And yeah, just where we are at right now today in our United States of America. See you soon. Drink your water, eat your protein.